Good evening, everybody. Just waiting for everybody to get on here. Give it a few minutes and we'll start yapping. If you have any questions, um, just type them in the comments and whatever platform you're on, I can see them. Travis, how's it going, man? Oh, Doug, how was the deer season? Deer season was all right. I shot a nice one with the bow. Couldn't have asked for anything better. My dad and I had, obviously we watch our cameras pretty heavy, and had a bunch of nice bucks walking our edge of our field, and we've talked about putting a stand up on this spot forever, just haven't, and put up one of the new. Um, River's Edge stands and one of the real tall ones. I think it was like 23 feet or something like that. And put it up on I think a Monday. Went and sat Monday night in a different stand. Came back on Tuesday and climbed up there and wasn't in the stand half hour, and he came running through and stopped, like literally right underneath me. And I'd never taken a shot that type of an angle before, so I practiced at it and thought I had a good shot. Watched it go in, watched him, run away, and blood just pouring out, and it's like, okay, he should be dead within 50 yards, and we. All right, I think we're back and going now, correct? I'll wait for somebody to tell me yes, you can hear me. Gotta love internet. We've got new fiber internet, and I think it's worse than what our Starlink was. All right, good to go. So continuing back, that shot a nice one with the bow. Just absolutely drilled it, 13 yards, 23 feet up in the air, and should have been a 50, 60 yard, fall over dead type shot. And he ended up running for 1,300 yards. Rob from Swamp Donkey brought Briggs out, and we tracked him. Found him that night, and he was still alive. So we let him just basically lay and die, and came back the next day, and he had only went another maybe 20, 30 yards from where we seen him that night. So all in all, it was good season, gun season. Had some opportunities at some mediocre bucks that I just didn't want to pull the trigger on. Shot a couple does for some venison, and that was about it. We will get back at it again next year. We've got quite a few nice bucks running around by us, so pretty excited about next year. We should have some good action at least. As far as we got everybody on here. Sorry, I froze up there. How the fishing is going, how the ice conditions are. If you didn't watch the live, the landings are starting to get a little sloppy. If we get all this rain that they're saying, I don't know if I'd be taking half tons out after a bunch more rain. I did find some spots today that were, that 10 inches or so, 10, 11 inches. And it wasn't as hard as what the spots we're finding with, 13, 14 inches. And when you drilled on those spots, you knew it right away because it was just really soft. It had a different feeling to it. Kind of ate through the ice pretty quick. And just, I think there was one spot even kind of spooked me a little bit just because I put the auger down, pulled the trigger, and it made like 7 or 8 revolutions, it seemed like, and it was through already. I was like, whoo. And that was just out in the middle of nowhere. 50 feet away from that was 14 inches. So I think all those spots that had snow drifts on them from way back when are just naturally softer ice. And I think that's where all the water is seeping to. And that's what's creating some of the bad spots. But overall, I mean, I honestly think short of, a few of those bad spots, I can't see that, it won't support a half ton right now. But we get any more rain, I wouldn't recommend driving a truck out there. Stick to your machines, and you'll be fine. As far as snowmobile traffic goes, there's plenty of lubrication. There's enough water. The snow is really slushy and great for your slides and for cooling. You can drive a snowmobile pretty much anywhere right now. I think we're supposed to get some snow here the next few days. So that'll, just help things. ATV travel, piece of cake with the rain and stuff that we did have. It's really smooth out there now. The bumps and a lot of the ruts have kind of filled in, and it's pretty easy going. So get out, and there's really, haven't really found much for cracks. There's one crack back in Norwegian Bay, real close to shore, that runs east and west. There's a crack back off of Indian Point that kind of runs east and west towards the west shore over by, where it comes out of the Pine. The crack kind of snakes around from Indian Point and goes back up towards the west shore and kind of dives back, I'd say over back towards the Pine River. So really, I mean, that thing there opened up quite a bit today. I don't know if you could cross that with a vehicle anymore. she heaved up pretty good. So unless you can find a spot where you could possibly jump it, I didn't really travel around and look. The He was, some spots was probably a good 3 feet high, so nothing that I would, really want to jump with a vehicle for sure. Um, as far as stuff to the east, back over by Boom Bay, there's that traditional crack that kind of goes north and south from like Spruce up and towards the Cut. Um, Very small crack. I mean, that one really there hasn't moved a whole lot. The areas you got to be careful for right now, where the Cut comes out there in Boom Bay, that's open water. There's really bad ice right there, so just be cautious there. And then obviously over by Lone Willow, over by the cane beds, just if you don't know the lake, don't go that way. I mean, just stay away from that area completely. It swallows somebody pretty much every single year. There's been a couple people that have already gone in over there. Just stay away from the cane beds and stay to the west of any of those canes over there, and you'll be okay. Don't venture to the east unless you feel like washing your snowmobile or ATV, or decide that you want to go take a dip someplace. But hey, I got a pond in the backyard here with a hot tub. If you want to go swimming, come over here and you can jump in and jump in the hot tub and warm up. So that's my recommendation. As far as the fishing goes, boy, I'm really starting to get a love-hate relationship with this lake. The fish, it seems like, well, I'm not even gonna say it seems like, it is. When the sun comes out, it's pound town. And the cloudy, foggy, low light condition days have been really hit and miss. Today, I seen some really big schools of walleyes today, and watching the live and watching the 360 and actually dropping a camera down to see kind of exactly what everything was. There's a lot of really nice walleyes out in Poygan right now, on top of the giant white bass. I don't know if guys have been catching them, but we've caught some absolutely behemoth white bass. We had one that was just shy of 19 inches the other day. We've had a bunch of like 17 and a halfs, just absolute tanks. I bet you the one that was 19 was probably pushing 3.5 to 4 pounds. Just an absolute just peg of a white bass. As far as all those little guys, they are everywhere. I don't know if we drilled a spot today that we didn't see, a bunch of those little white bass. And what's crazy is, don't be discouraged by them, because when you find them, there's big ones mixed in, and there's actually, there's walleye swimming around with those schools of big small white bass, or the big schools of small white bass, I should say. And it seems, when we drill in, got the shacks, and we've been putting one of the Omega Live inside each shack, and kind of reduces the clutter of having a bunch of locators sitting on the floor. um, let's see, Ray. Yeah, jigging, bud. I've caught 2 walleyes all year on tip ups, and I'm putting anywhere from 6 to a dozen tip ups in every single day. And I'm getting to the point where I'm just ready to not even put them in, because it takes so long to pick them up and move around. We are staying on top. Right now, the key to putting fish in the bucket out there is staying on top of the fish that are active. And when I say that, you've got, and we'll kind of talk about this here. I'll drop a 360, kind of in the middle of our group, and just kind of watch to see, how these fish are reacting. And the shacks will have the lives going inside. And what's interesting is, I can have my 360 in the center of our group, have a shack here, and I can see fish all the way around. except where the shacks are. And then there's like a halo around, like literally a circle around each one of the shacks, or wherever there's, a live or a live scope. We had a guy that was right outside our group, and he had a live scope down, and we're talking to him. He could see him, but nothing would come close to him. So best thing to do right now is find the fish with your scope or with your 360. The 360 doesn't seem to bother the fish, as much, but it definitely, when I drop that thing down, you can watch it spin around, and they stay, about 15 feet away from that 360. They don't like coming close to that. The white bass will come in, but the walleyes, I just can't get those things to come any closer. I pull the 360 out, drop a flasher down the hole, and give it just a few minutes, and the fish are, come right in underneath me and just sit there. And even with the flashers, today I noticed I'd have some pretty big schools. I, drill in, pinpoint the location, and I drill in, drop the 360 down, and it would be like, oh, I'm right on top of them. Quickly pull it out, drop a flasher down, and within a minute or two, those fish were already dispersing and staying tight in schools, but they were getting away from that sonar. I'm really starting to see that the sonar stuff is affecting the fish. This last weekend, the one kid, everybody was kind of sitting in the shack. It was pretty cold out. Was sitting in the shack and fishing with the scopes, just to kind of see. And the kid just decided to take his pole, go outside by himself, and just start hole hopping. And instantly picked up a big fat female walleye, and all by himself, just no electronics, nothing. So that might be the ticket, is to just find these big schools and shut the electronics off and just start jigging. Although today, when even these white bass, and I don't know if I've ever seen a white bass do this before, they'd come in schools, 15, 20 fish in a school, and it'd be like one fish would kind of hone in on the bait, and I'd work them up, and just that one white bass would sit there for 2 minutes or even longer, and never move. He would just sit there. And then all of a sudden, he'd come in and just real lightly, like, I don't even want to call it a bite. It was more or less, he would suck it in and just try and swim with it really slow. You'd set the hook thinking, oh my goodness, that's a typical walleye bite with how slow. And it was big white bass, super lethargic, very slow bite. Just nothing, nothing that even resembles what a white bass normally does. Normally those things are zipping and double dog dare that fish to swipe at it. Yeah, there was no swiping going on today at all. The walleyes came in and bit super slow. I mean, I just real lightly, I went all the way down to a number 2 pimple, and just very subtly, just kind of jigging it, making the blades move. And I'll have to go grab one. I'll show you. I know we talked about it last year, but I put metal blades on all my pimples. So if you got a nickel, a hammered nickel pimple, I'll put a gold blade on. If I got a gold or a copper, then I'm putting a silver on, just to kind of get that contrast in color and flash. So when you're just kind of very lightly jigging that thing, that blade is just giving a little bit of extra flash. And these fish coming in and just, they're mouthing it. They're not, your rod just kind of loads up just a little bit. There's no tick, there's no tap, there's no bump, nothing. It's just all of a sudden a little bit of weight. But did you use the pinhead? No, Ray, I didn't use the pinhead. And it was just a really, really weird bite today. I lost probably 4 or 5 really nice walleyes, and one big fish that I have no idea what it was. Sure felt like a walleye, but could have been a catfish. It was a pretty good fish. It actually straightened out my hook. So what I'm using, same stuff that we always use: hammered gold, hammered copper, hammered nickel, Swedish pimples, twos, threes, fours. I've tried some fives. I've tried some bigger minnow style baits, and I can't even get a walleye to look at a minnow style bait this year. Any type of jig and wrap, shiver minnows, anything that resembles a minnow, they don't even come in and look at it. And everything that we've caught has been on some sort of spoon. The VMC tumblers have been good. Slender spoons have been good. But for me, it's always just hammered Swedish pimple. Today was number twos. Everything wanted smaller baits. Most of the time, I've got a number 3 or number 4 on. And the biggest thing, like I tell the clients, and you have to, the best thing to do, I guess, is even to just fill up your bathtub and drop a Swedish pimple in there and play around to understand how a pimple looks in the water and what it does. If you're just up and down, not really doing a whole lot of anything, that bait literally is just going to go up and down straight. What you want to do is quick little flips, or I don't even know, like a twitch, to get that thing to kind of dart, and then it'll flutter back down. As long as you're twitching that bait and getting that thing to move around a little bit, and you can even just sit there and pound it too, and that bait will flutter. That's what you want it to do. And the reason I don't use live bait is because as soon as you put something on that treble hook, now you reduce the spoon, its ability to do that flutter and move around naturally in the water. Putting live bait on is great for dead sticking, or if you're going to pound the mud and get a real negative bite. But what I'm finding is that these fish, I don't think they're necessarily feeding because they're hungry. I think we're triggering the reaction bites. Some of these people and some of the pitchers, guys are saying, "Oh, you're killing all these females." Guys, they're not females; they're males. I think out of all the walleyes, we've killed this year, maybe 3 females, and I know 1 or 2 of them just choked them, and the other one we had. The one that kid caught, it was so cold, he was taking pictures and so excited. We went to go and try and release it, and it just wouldn't go back down the hole. So we tried. We did release some other females, and but just inexperience, and I'm not going to yell at a kid because he didn't know any better. But really appreciated the guys that were fishing with me, understanding that putting the females back were good. And we've been catching a lot of really nice females this year, in the low 20s, 22s to 24s, some really healthy fish. But most of the males, those 17 to 19-inch fish that look like females are, they're all been males. And, one guy says that the stomachs are empty. Some of them have had some shiners in their stomachs. But what I'm finding, in the fish that I've cleaned, they're full of worms, bugs, red worms and other types of insects and stuff like that, which is something very characteristical of what I find on Poigan. I find that a lot. I know a couple years ago, the first fish we started catching early ice were full of red worms. And I started using red worms for bait, and we were, just whacking them on those bloodworms from Euro Tackle. So these bugs here, we did find some red worms, but I don't know what type of larva it is or insect it is, but they are plumb full. And yeah, it's just been a crazy year. Like I say, I don't necessarily think that they're feeding because of they're hungry. I think we're getting some reaction bites. Now, that being said, cloudy days, foggy days, snowy days, the days where you think that the fish are going to bite, low pressure systems coming through, have been absolutely horrible. It seems like you get a window like an hour or so, and it's been midday. It's been at noon till 2. Best bite. Even today, about noon or so, we had a good flurry, and it lasted for about 45 minutes, and it just kind of petered right back off again. But at that point, the sun did come out just a little bit, and that has been the key. Any bit of sunshine, the days that bright blue sunny days that you think, those are the days to stay home, those are the days that we've done the best. There hasn't been many of them, but the days that is sunny, those are the days we're really getting into the fish. As far as what guys are asking as far as tip ups go, again, we haven't done squat on tip ups. I've tried rosies, I've tried shiners, I've tried some, super big fat heads, small fat heads, and a lot of bump and runs with the small white bass. We had a school of perch one day that were pecking around with us. But as far as walleyes go, we've got 2 walleyes on tip ups this year, and that's been it. It's an odd year out there. I can only hope that things will start to get better. I'm not seeing as much bait, short of those small white bass, but earlier on, we were still seeing clouds of minnows swimming around, and I'm not seeing as much of that recently, at least where we've been fishing. But there are still, when we find the big giant schools out there, you look at the 360, and for a 100-foot circle, there's not much of a square inch left on that screen that doesn't have a fish on it. And when you find those schools like that, there's a little bit of everything in there: white bass, crappies, walleyes, catfish. We've been even seeing a lot of big pike just kind of swimming out in the middle of nowhere. And I've been actually putting some pike minnows out on 1 or 2 tip ups, and for the most part, I'd say we get 1 or 2 of those flags to go up, and we've put a couple pike on the ice. But it's a humbling year out there, and we're on them. We just can't get them to eat, and that's the frustrating part. And as I say it all the time, as guides, all we can do is guarantee we'll put you on the fish. I just can't guarantee that they're going to bite. I only had luck on rosies today and the finicky fooler. Yeah, the rosies can be really good, and I've tried clipping the tails. I've tried laying them on the bottom. We've tried underneath the ice, every square inch of the water column. I've been playing around with baits, and can't get anything to go. So I guess we'll just keep trying, and just keep cruising around, moving around, and looking, looking for those big schools. And it is fun. Like I was telling you on the live, is when I get into a school of fish, and I know there's a bunch of walleyes in there. I've been, 4 or 5 minutes or so, you got your 3 fish. So if guys are looking for limits or just going out to catch a bunch of fish, just keep moving around, and it really isn't that hard if you have the electronics and you kind of know a little bit and what's going on. You can get them. They're out there to be caught, and like I say, find a school of them, and it's over, and catch a fish, drop a jig back down, catch a fish, drop a jig back down, get your 3rd one, you're done in very, very little time. They're not moving super fast when you find them, unless they're getting pushed. And that being said, we've only had maybe 2 or 3 days where guys have been kind of moving in on us. That last weekend, everybody kind of just bombarded us, and we're pushing the fish around like crazy. and then eventually just push the fish out of the area. But if you can find a school, keep quiet and just sit there and let them swim around in circles. That's really all they're doing. We've been when we find a big pot, I like to drill a whole bunch of holes in a circle so we can kind of hole hop, get out of the shacks and kind of just move around, drop the 360 in the center, and then, I can direct people. I'm like, hey, they're over here. Or, no, they're moving back. That way there you can kind of stay on top of them at least a little bit. Otherwise, if it's super cold and you got to be hunkered down, just sit in the shack and wait it out. If you're seeing a bunch of fish, they're just swimming around in pods. And today, we found one area that had just fish everywhere. And it seems like when the sun comes out, those big pods condense and they get really tight, but then they start chasing and moving around a lot faster. And then when it's cloudy out, like right away this morning in the fog, I found a spot that had just a whole ton of fish on the screen, but there were no schools whatsoever. Looked like somebody, dumped a whole bucket of rice on the screen, and they were just everywhere, but nothing tight in a group. And then as the day progressed, I was seeing, big pods of fish that were cruising around, and just got to intercept one of those pods, and you can usually whoop up on them pretty good. Let's see some questions. Jeff just clicked on how's the ice on Poigan. Ice on Poigan's good, Jeff. It's starting to get a little soft in some spots. And I think, depending on how much rain we get, that's really going to be the question, is, the landings. It's going to be good for ATV, snowmobile traffic. I don't see that, not unless we get like 4 inches of rain or something and it just completely destroys it. But even at that, the ice out in the lake is 12, 13 inches. Pretty solid, and a couple softer spots, but for light traffic, snowmobiles, four-wheelers, I don't see that going anywhere anytime soon, but, for the rest of the year for sure, barring something major. Vehicle traffic, that's where I would, definitely start to use caution after this rain. Definitely, it's going to hinder, a lot of the landings, especially, the runoff. The thing with the county landing and Spruce, and even at Nofke's or the Duck Inn, is all those spots have drainage ditches that basically dump in alongside the landings and will start to erode, alongside, and that, just with all the water that's already on the landing and then all the new stuff, that salt rinsing off and getting on the landing from vehicles, it'll just start to eat it away, and you don't want to go swimming. So just, use caution. Hopefully, I don't know what our weather forecast is looking like here. We can pull it up. I know we got some snow coming, but I don't remember seeing a whole lot of cold. Okay, so Friday night looks like 25, Saturday, Sunday in the 20s, and doesn't look like until Wednesday where we get below freezing. And then the latter part of next week, single digits for lows again. So I think we'll be fine. It's really, like I said, it's really going to depend on how much rain we get, especially not having any freezing for really the next, couple days. I think tonight it's supposed to get down like 29. That's not going to do a whole lot. But 42 and 35 for a low tomorrow and a bunch of rain. Friday, 38, 25. Saturday, a bunch of snow, 32, 24. That snow will help absorb whatever water is sitting on top of the ice. And then Sunday, 29, 21. So you get down in the 20s, and that'll help firm things up, and should be good. Did Nofke close parking again with this rain? I'm sure he will, Travis. I don't ever make it down that far. We launch at County, and go out. So I don't even drive down that way. Um, let's see. Ben asks your thoughts on running a fluorocarbon leader before the lure or tying the lure directly to braid. So every single one of my rods has 10 pounds smackdown with a 6 or an 8 pound gold label fluorocarbon leader underneath a little tiny barrel swivel. And then I run snaps. I've got some crankbait snaps that I use, some really small crankbait snaps, and that's my setup. Now, the PEX8 from Seaguar, that new line that came out, I don't know if I have any here. Um, I have been, tying direct to that on one of my rods just to kind of play around with it. And I've been catching fish on it. That PX8 is so small diameter, such a thin diameter that I don't think, fish can really see it, at least, in some dirtier water. But the nice thing about that is, I don't have to really worry about breaking off or you can feel everything. Not that you can't with the with the fluoro leaders to the braid, but I definitely like. Wife's calling. I definitely like the the direct straight from leader or from line to the jig. It definitely gives you a little bit more feel, a little bit better action. And like I said, that line is so thin that those baits can move very, very freely. I think it's, equivalent to like 1 pound diameter or less. So it really cuts through the water nice and allows even like the number two pimples to, to work and flutter pretty easily. So that's kind of my thoughts, but everything is on a braid to fluoroliter. That's just how I run everything. I have a few rods that are just straight fluoro, for fishing extremely shallow water. And the reason we do that is, we've got a lighter style rod, something that's got a lot more give to it. So then, when we are in that 3 feet of water, so, when you go and set the hook, you want to have some energy be absorbed by the rod tip versus, the braid, on a stiff rod, you go and set the hook 3 feet of water, you're just going to rip the bait right out of the fish's mouth. So, that when you fish shallow, you just got to have a lighter rod, something that's got some give to it, and something that braid doesn't have any stretch. Fluoro has minimal stretch. It does stretch a little bit, but not a whole lot. And it's just enough that when you pair that with a lighter rod, you can get some good penetration without ripping the bait out of the fish's mouth. So hopefully that helped you. Yeah, and Travis, I don't know about Nofkes. I guess I can let you know and or post or see if he posts tomorrow. But my guess is that he's going to close that with how wet it is. Um, it really hasn't froze or been below freezing, for an entire week darn near. So ice is definitely taking a toll. I know Winnebago is really getting beat up. The shorelines, the cracks are moving and opening. It's getting kind of nasty over on the west shore. The east shore guys, sounds like they're getting out over there just fine. Quite a few guys, in their tubers and stuff driving out. But the west shore, no vehicle traffic that I know of, other than snowmobiles, four wheelers, crossing some of the cracks. But be careful out there. I'll refrain from taking anybody out. And okay, so Derek just said Nofke's had the majority of the lot closed today, minimal parking. So there you go. Um, yeah, it's going to be a kind of a busy weekend. Hopefully, there'll be some guys that'll be driving out, but hopefully the rain doesn't affect it a whole lot because otherwise it's going to really cramp everybody for parking. Even last weekend, people were parked down by county. They were parked down a mile. It seemed like. Yeah, it does make the county really busy. And yeah, don't forget too, you could always go down off of Captain's. You got Boom Bay, Duck Inn. the Duck Inn. You got a big parking lot down there that's all concrete, blacktop. You don't have to worry about any mud or anything like that. If you got a machine, you can drive the machine from that big parking lot down to the lake. That's always my favorite spot to go if, county's like super busy, or if we're fishing more on the east end, I'll launch down by Duck. Let's see. The magic question. So my guys today were from Chicago, and we were razzing them a little bit. It's funny to listen to the people from Chicago talk about, how they're feeling about the game. And I haven't talked to a whole lot of guys that are, super confident. They're a little nervous that the Pack is going to come to Chicago and beat them this week. So I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? I have a feeling that I don't think the Pack can lose, twice in a row to Chicago. I think we've got a lot more fuel in our tank. We've got something to prove now, and we're going to go down there, and I think it's going to be a good game. I know, with all the injuries and everything else, it's a little concerning, but I think regardless, like we were talking earlier, is that this is what football should be. Packers Bears, to keep going into the playoffs is a great rivalry, and it's going to make for a great game. What other questions you guys have? So I'm trying to get my buddy Joel Nelson. I don't know if you guys have been looking at, everybody uses Onyx for hunting, but Onyx has got the fish app now too. And we're going to start working with those guys and doing a little bit of promotion and working and, kind of getting that stuff going here in Wisconsin too. I know it's pretty big in Minnesota. But they've got a pretty big campaign where we're going to try and get the Onyx stuff going for Wisconsin on the lakes, and pretty cool app. If you haven't played around with it or had a chance, take a look. And like I say, I know everybody uses the hunting app, but the fishing app's pretty cool. And we'll share more information as I get going with it too. Only problem for me is I don't have an iPhone. I have to use my kid's phone to run it because they don't have it on the Android yet for the fishing app. But I believe it's coming soon, so I'll report back with that. We were just talking about that, Derek. Yeah, it's on the horizon. Let's see, what else do we know? Boy, I can't think. Hope everybody had a great Christmas, and um, started off the new year here with some close friend passed away here this past Sunday, and got a few health issues here we're working through, and just some crazy non-needed stuff to start off the new year. So I know they say stuff goes in threes, and I'm hoping we can get through the third one here as quick as possible. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but at this rate, this point, just get it over with and let's move on. I'm ready to have a much better year than what we did last year, and the fish. I'm pretty mad at the fish. Hey, Travis, we did get the phone back. We went with the magnet, and what was funny is that we dropped the magnet down, dropped the camera down, and chunk, sucked on it right away, brought it up, and I rinsed it off in the water to get all the mud and stuff out of the ports. And as soon as I did that, it came on, the screen came on and said, you know, charge or low battery or the little connector or whatever. And it was pretty neat. He brought it home and dried out the ports a little bit, and it was working already that night. And my kid dropped a phone. Eli's been helping with guiding this year. He graduated a year and a half early from high school. He's got accepted to the Advanced Welding Institute up in Eagle River, and he'll be attending that come March. So in the meantime, he's been helping the old man do all the heavy lifting to kind of conserve my back and just kind of teaching him the ropes too. And I think he's enjoying it. I know he's not, hasn't been much of a fisherman, but I think he enjoys talking with the people and, learning the fishing stuff. And he's turning out to be a pretty good kid. Um, and it's been fun. It's been exciting and fun to watch him and kind of see what I do, and gives him a whole new perspective too, um, and understands kind of what I do. So, when I come home tired sometimes or frustrated, now he understands why. Let's see. John asked thoughts how much our warm up and rain will affect clarity for spearing. So, John, that's a really good question, and I can't speak for Winnebago, but what I can tell you already, what I'm seeing on Poigan is I drilled some holes today close to the west shore up in the shallows, and I already noticed quite a bit of dirty water again. We had some good dirty water earlier on, and it really seemed to clear up and settle down. But now that water is getting dirty, and there was a few pockets too up in over by Indian Point, around the corner, kind of. I don't know if it's coming out of Alder Creek or where that dirty water might be coming from. But if we get a bunch more rain, I think it's definitely going to dirty up the water. Now, here's a little tip I can tell you. When we found dirty water, we're finding fish. That's same goes in the summertime. The same goes in the wintertime. You find those dirty water, clean water edges, and there's been a lot of fish hanging out in those areas. Especially, the walleyes have really been hanging tight to that dirty water. And if you can find it, hang around, stick around, because that's where the fish are. It doesn't mean that they're not in, clear water too, but definitely where we found dirty water, murkier water, we've been finding more fish. So yeah, Derek, kids are kids. He didn't have a phone. He was kind of out of touch to the world for almost 6 months at the Wisconsin Challenge Academy, and he graduated from that in December. And we got him a phone. My buddy Ray, thanks, had a spare one hanging around, so we activated that, and you know how kids are. They can't put their phones down, and he's in contact with all his buddies from the academy and then all his friends, from around here. And he loves his music. So he's always got some sort of music and stuff going on in his headphones. And I didn't realize that's what he was doing when he was sitting inside the shack listening to music, and kind of got on him. But he must have got up to put the clothes. I think Travis was in the shack with him, and was putting hole covers back on or did something. And all I remember is watching him lean over, and it went doop, bloop. And he's like, "Oh no, my phone." It's like, "God darn it, Eli." And we tried to net it out with the minnow nets and the camera, but just didn't have any luck. And came back the next day with the missed his pocket when he put in his bibs. We can't laugh because I'm sure all of us have been there. I can tell you a funny story here, real quick. This goes back, quite a while ago, but I lost 3 phones in one day. I don't know if I'll ever be able to top that again. First phone, I was on a small lake waiting for some customers, and I texted them where to meet, and was drilling holes. I did the same thing too. At the time, my bibs had a pocket right here on my chest. And I leaned over, and I don't know how or why, but for some reason it was loose. Normally it fits so snug in there that you really have to like pull it out to get the phone out, but it was loose. I leaned over and it just went bloop right down the hole. It was okay. First phone was gone. Well, now I had to figure out how to get a hold of the people. So I ran into town, went to U.S. Cellular, and they gave me. We knew the people there. We got a flip phone or a loaner phone at the time, and went back out on the lake, and people showed up. Everything was going good, and we're catching fish, and we wanted to take a picture and send it to his mom. So I take a picture, and the kid holds my phone, and he's typing in his mom's phone number to text, and he goes to hand it back to me and drops it. It bounces off of my boot and then like slow motion hole in one, just off my boot and right into the hole. Down it goes. So there's the loaner phone gone. Second phone, and I didn't. I had a lot of select words to say at that point. So later on in the day, we get all done, and the guy that was with him. Or with the kid, we were going to take a picture with all the fish, and he, I don't even know how this one happened, but he dropped the phone and it hit his boot and it like slid, and we were all like ready to dive for it, and nope, hit the hole, down it went, and three phones down, pretty much the same area, and after that, it was just all right, time to go home. And since then, knock on wood, I haven't lost a phone down the hole since that time. So I know it'll be coming here, I'm sure soon. But I'm usually pretty careful and try not to get my phone out, when I'm by any open holes. Yeah, I think all of us have a phone on Bago. I think I got one off of Garlic, many years ago, before any of that happened too. But is what it is. They need to make like a phone case that has a emergency flotation thing that shoots out or something. I think it'd be a great idea. I know there's a couple different suction cup deals. Let's see. Yeah, there's a new thing that this lady developed. It's just like a suction cup deal that goes onto the back of your case, and it floats. Doesn't take up a whole lot of space. If you drop it in, the phone just sits up on top of the water. So most of these phones, are pretty waterproof and pretty durable. But it's just if you drop it down, you can't recover it, then you're screwed. I guess then we got to call Ed the diver and have him come and get it. But well, I'm gonna leave it at that. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Be safe. Good luck this weekend, and I'll keep you posted with what I find. Any changing conditions and what we see, and I'll let you guys know any safety concerns or whatnot. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go get some rest and get up. We got some appointments to take care of tomorrow. So we'll catch you guys later. And again, thanks for tuning in. If you have any other questions, whatever, if you want to shoot me a message, feel free. And we'll catch you guys later. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks.